It has become a summer tradition in the Garden State, a once-a-year sojourn to a place of thunder. These fans have come to see the fastest drivers in all of racing, a world where speed is king. From Englishtown, New Jersey, NBC Sports World presents the 22nd annual NHRA MOPAR Parts Summer Nationals, where last year an excited Susie Hoop celebrated after watching her boyfriend Gary Ormsby in the near lane post his third Top Fuel victory of the season. Later, Ormsby on the right congratulated first-time funny car champion Chuck Etchells. Etchells' premier win was marred by competitor Johnny West's terrifying accident, resulting in the total destruction of his car. Amazingly, a badly shaken West was released from the hospital after first being transported by ambulance from Raceway Park, and has since exchanged his driver's suit for a set of wrenches and a crew chief's position for rookie funny car pilot Paula Martin. In pro stock, Darrell Alderman in the far lane won the first of 4 1990 victories that led him to the Winston Championship title. With all of that in mind, this capacity crowd settled in earlier today to learn what this fabled event had in store for them this year. And from the very first pairing, things began to happen. Then we watched as Lori Johns in the far lane upset Kenny Bernstein. They have met 5 times this year. She's won 4 of those. Lori's smiling reaction was somewhat predictable. Bernstein's a combination of disbelief and bemusement.
They did the job, we didn't again, and we're disappointed, but I don't, it's kind of gotten past the stage of being mad. It's getting comical now.
In funny car, Richard Hartman in the far lane survived his challenge to Dominic Santucci in a frightening moment when his cutlass-bodied mount became airborne. The chassis sustained significant damage, the body as well. Hartman emerged unhurt to offer this observation.
Apparently just the air got underneath it, and it kind of just like a dragster, just tried to take the body right off the chassis, and it did a good job of that. And then when it came down, the A-arms broke, and I had no control over it.
But upsets and incidents could not impact the Summers nearly as much as what happened next. The rains came, accompanied by high winds. We waited as Mother Nature had her way with the East Coast. When the skies finally began to clear, the NHRA worked its magic, and now some 4 hours later, we're ready to continue competition. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to one of the signal events in the world's fastest motorsport, NHRA drag racing. Today, NBC Sports World presents the Mopar Parts Summer Nationals. I'm Don Crickey, and we'll be watching Top Fuel dragsters powered by 4,000 horsepower engines that can accelerate from 0 to 100 miles an hour in 1 second flat. These cars can hit 290 miles an hour in just a quarter of a mile. We've already seen an outstanding driver, one of the points leaders, Kenny Bernstein, upset as he went out in the first round of Top Fuel competition. There's a big race developing in funny cars also. For more on that, let's go to Steve Evans.
Don, there is a terrific battle brewing here at Englishtown between 2 funny car drivers. The reigning Winston champion, John Force, every drag racing fan knows him, and the man that drives this car, Mike Dunn. John Force got off to a beautiful start early in the season, winning the first 2 races, amassing a tremendous points lead. All of a sudden, Mike Dunn struck back. He, too, has won 2 national events, and feels today he has got Force on the ropes for a knockout punch. I talked to both of them.
Well, basically, we didn't run the last qualifying session, so him qualifying 3rd and by us qualifying number 6, we'd meet up in the 2nd round if we both got by, and hopefully we're either going to really help our cause a lot or we're going to hurt ourselves, but we're going to go for it, you know, no pain, no gain.
Mike Dunn wants you. He intentionally has qualified where he gets you this next round.
Well, he's going to get his chance, ain't he? He tried at Montreal. We got around him, and we had some luck, and I think luck's very critical here, but I got a good old race car, and we got the personal touch over here, and we'll just see how good he is.
Is John Force playing a little bit of rope it up? Well, that's possible, and Mike Dunn and his wife Sandy know that. All right, there's another great battle potentially in Top Fuel. Here's 3-time Winston champion Big Daddy Don Garlitz with the story.
Well, Steve, with Kenny Bernstein out of competition, Don Perdone has an opportunity to move even further ahead in the Winston points chase. But this man, Eddie Hill, stands in Perdone's way. They meet in the very next round of competition, and Eddie Hill has the all-important lane choice. Now, this weather at Englishtown has been a nightmare for the tuners. It's been cool, it's been hot, it's been cool. Now the rain. But the rain delay has been a very important factor for this team because crew chief Fuzzy Carter and his team had to change the engine after the first round of competition. And you know, it takes a little extra time to get everything just right, especially for such an important confrontation. Fuzzy, are you going to change any strategy going up against Prudhomme?
No, the track should be a little bit better, and the air should be better, and we're putting a little bit more clutch in it, and it should run real good. Give it our best shot.
There you heard it. It looks like Prudhomme will have his hands full.
And now it's time to race as we go to second round competition in Top Fuel dragsters. Scott Coletta with the burnout. His opponent, a veteran Tom McEwen.
McEwen is returning to the sport after a 3-race absence. They had some reorganization of the crew they wanted to accomplish, which is why you won't see him in the top 5 Winston Point. But you can tell that Don Prudhomme has a tremendous opportunity today. Kenny Bernstein came into the race just 12 points behind while he won out first round to Laurie Johns. That has really hurt him. Tom McEwen's car is owned by baseball star Jack the Ripper Clark, currently a slugger with the Boston Red Sox. In round 1 earlier, it was Tom McEwen taking out Scott Coletta's father, Connie, so he hopes to decimate the entire family. One thing the two have in common, they have never won in Top Fuel, but both enjoyed success in the Nitro Funny Car range. Scott with 1 victory and McEwen with 3 over a long period of time. Both drivers very carefully staging their cars, trying to restrain 4,000 horsepower with a hand brake. It's McEwen, and his first-time crew chief Larry Meyer has a very satisfied look. McEwen at 508-282, and I believe the Coletta family just crossed him off their Christmas card list.
Meanwhile, back in the pit area, Top Fuel points leader Don Prudhomme is getting set for his confrontation with Eddie Hill. It could be a big day for Prudhomme, a chance to build on his lead over number 2, Kenny Bernstein, who's already out of this competition. We'll watch Prudhomme next.
This is NBC's Sports World and Beats a Bud. By Castrol, engineered for today's smaller cars. By durable weather beater paint, only at Sears, the home of America's craftsmen. By Goodyear, the unanimous choice of all the professional NHRA world champions, from Top Fuel to Pro Stock Motorcycle. And by Mopar Parts and the Chrysler Corporation dealers who sell and install them.
Crew chief Fuzzy Carter directs his driver Eddie Hill back to the start line as we're at Old Bridge Township Raceway Park for the Mopar Parts NHRA Summer Nationals in Englishtown, New Jersey.
As we talked earlier, Eddie Hill has a new power plant in the frame rails of that yellow dragster. Don Garlis, how does it sound to you?
Well, it sounds good, but I can see concern on Fuzzy Carter's face. You never know about these engines. There's a lot of personality in each one. It may or may not perform well, but the pressure here has got to be on Don Prudhomme. He needs that 200 points per round win that you get for advancement.
He may have a tough time getting them here. This is the best that Eddie Hill has run in over a year. And let's not forget, he was the first ever into the 4-second elapsed time zone. This man can run with the best of them on any given day.
Now, he comes into this round with lane choice. That means his performance is better than the Snakes at this time.
In the previous round, that's right. Hill is ready, waiting for the Snake. Don Prudhomme is set. Prudhomme just lashed out at Eddie Hill off the starting line and all the way down the racetrack. 5.01, 280 miles per hour for the Snake. The Hill's 5.09.
Another much anticipated matchup in funny car competition is coming up as Mike Dunn and his car are heading for the staging lanes for a confrontation with the famed John Force.
Safe to say that one of those funny car drivers will leave here with a Winston points lead. All right, back to second round Top Fuel competition. That is Tim Richards, crew chief for Joe Amato, as he fires that potent power plant. Amato runner-up here 1 year ago to Gary Ormsby.
And as we watch Amato's opponent in this round, Dick LaHaye burn out. Let us tell you that Gary Ormsby, the defending Top Fuel champion here at the Summer Nationals, is unable to compete this year because of illness, but Gary is expected back in competition soon. Meanwhile, one of the most famous names in drag racing, the points leader in Top Fuel, has just won his round, and he's with Steve now.
Well, Don Prudhomme's crew chief, John Medlin, knew they were up against a tough customer in Eddie Hill, and he gave you what you needed, Snake, a 5.01.
Yeah, well, we sure needed that. And you know, he figured the track would be a little bit better after this big rainstorm, so that's sure going to help us.
Don Prudhomme.
In spite of the 4-hour rain delay, the sellout crowd here at the Summer Nationals is back in full force. And next up is a two-time winner of this event in Top Fuel, Joe Amato, ready to compete.
And he's trying this year to become the first ever 4-time Winston champion. He's won one race this year, and that's bad for Amato. Dick LaHaye, the fellow he's racing, no stranger to this strip of asphalt. He won here in 1989 and also way back in 1980. Both of them are what they call pre-stage. In the far lane is LaHaye, and the near lane is Amato. And Don, they're taking some time here.
Yes, a little extra time on Dick LaHaye's part.
And Amato, something happens on the starting line. The red light is on the tree, meaning Amato is disqualified. Dick LaHaye roars through at 518, 276 miles per hour, and that was pretty strange, Don. What happened, do you think?
Well, the cagey Dick LaHaye comes into this round at a performance disadvantage. Decides to try to psych Amato out, takes his time staging, blips the motor just a little before it's time to go. Amato lets out the clutch and realizes he's made a mistake, red lights, and shuts it off.
And we have a big upset here at the Summer Nationals.
Jerry Amato consoling husband Joe, and Joe Amato just has a red light by 0.2 of a second. We can find out if something happened mechanical on the starting line. Joe, anything you can tell us?
No, you know, nothing mechanical. The brake might have slipped a little bit because the car seemed like it creeped on me. I was there awful long time, Steve.
It's all hard to hold that 5,000 horsepower sometimes.
Well, it's tough when you're loading up there. You know, Dick always likes to stage second. Usually a gentleman about it, but lately he's been taking a little too much time to stage, I think.
Thanks.
Local favorite Joe Amato not at all pleased with the starting line tactics of Dick LaHaye. Now we come to the final pairing of the second round in Top Fuel. Frank Hawley versus Laurie Johns. Laurie's in the far lane.
Laurie served her apprenticeship in this sport. In the sportsman classes, she started drag racing at the age of 16. Now at the age of 25, in just 2 seasons, she has 4 national event victories. But here she's racing one tough customer, Frank Hawley, who qualified #1 at 4.93 seconds, and no one has beat that time during the course of eliminations.
As you look at this pair of cars, it sure looks like Hawley has a performance advantage. Should be an easy win for Frank.
Just like Bernstein, Frank Hawley goes up in smoke against Laurie Johns. Laurie, a very respectable, though, 504 at 274.
Boy, Steve, that Laurie Johns is leading a charmed life today.
So the semifinal pairings are set now in Top Fuel competition. In one round, it'll be Dick LaHaye versus Tom McEwen. McEwen will have lane choice. The other semifinal pairing matches Don Prudhomme against 25-year-old Laurie Johns. Prudhomme will have the lane choice.
Well, Laurie has proven twice today she doesn't necessarily need lane choice to win. It's time now for the second round of funny cars. In the confrontation we talked about earlier, Mike Dunn versus John Force. We're on board with John Force, and much of last year that was like being inside your barbecue with the lid down. He had so many fires, but all with no injury. Now, as we take a look at the Winston points, you can see why John Force must be concerned with Mike Dunn. If Dunn can defeat John right here and go on and win the Summer Nationals, he will leave here the Winston points leader. John has got to stop him in his tracks.
You know, Steve, there's a lot of similarity between the Top Fuel cars and the funny cars in the engine department. Both almost identical engine-wise, but that's where the similarity ends. In the funny car, the driver sits right over the engine and is down inside the body. But of course, the Top Fuel dragster, the engine's behind the driver, and the dragster is about twice as long as a funny car.
Mike Dunn has as his mentor and crew chief his father, Jim. We saw Jim as a driver win the 1981 Winston Finals here on NBC. He occasionally still takes the wheel. Now, John Force leads the points because he has been in 5 of 8 final rounds this year. The competition just hasn't been able to force him out early.
Now we'll find out if Mr. Dunn's strategy pays off.
He wanted to race. John Force in this round. And it proves to be a bad idea. John Force, 531, 272 miles per hour, disposes of Mike Dunn.
And John Force, the dominant driver in funny car competition, advances to the final 4. We'll continue with the funny car racers after this. Steve Evans and Don Garlett. This is Don Cricky back at the NHRA Summer Nationals. That is the car of Darrell Alderman, the reigning pro stock champion. He's heading to the staging lanes for semifinal competition. But now we continue with second round competition in the funny cars. Jim White versus Dominic Santucci. A double burnout. White is in the near lane, Santucci in the far lane. And now let's go to the far end to Steve.
If you take a swing at John Forrest, you better expect him to swing back from the canvas. 531. You drilled him.
That's right. That's right. I've been hearing all weeks about that Snickers car. I'm just kind of fed up with it, and kind of like I stayed kind of humble here at the end, but like they have been whipping up on us for a while, and I told Coyle, give me some help. My lights stink. I don't know what happened. What happened on the lights? Anything?
You were a little bit late.
Late as usual. I seen a whole bunch of Snickers car, but old Coyle, he earned his money. He paid it off, so all I can say is sorry for them. Thank God for us.
John Forrest talking about his famed crew chief Austin Coyle, who got the car ready, and John Forrest at the wheel got the job done.
But the man with the hot hand in funny car racing right now is Jim White. He won the last race on the Tour in Montreal, #1 qualifier here at a 5:18. And Jim has a real opportunity driving for crew chief Carl and Roland Leon. If he can beat Santucci, with Mike Dunn out, he moves into second place just behind John Forrest. But that won't be easy. He's up against Dominic Santucci. This is his home track. He knows the air. He knows the pavement. He can be deadly here. In round one, it was Santucci up against Richard Hartman. Let's have another look at that incident. And Big Daddy Don Garland, the best thing that happened to Richard Hartman here is the body coming off the car. It might have gone over backwards.
You're exactly right, Steve. It was headed over backwards, and the body disconnected.
And released that air pressure. Well, the car took a hard shot into the wall. You heard Richard talk about the A-arms breaking. A-arms are front suspension, really. They're what hold the front wheels up. And when they break, well, you can see a terminal case of toe-in on the Hartman car. Again, Richard Hartman escaped uninjured. In fact, that was him inspecting the car. Now it's time for Dominic Santucci and Jim White. Can White move into second spot in the Winston Point standings? White in the near lane, Santucci far lane.
They're taking their time staging two very evenly matched cars, looking for that slight advantage, if there is one.
Oh, my. You could never call that with a human eye. The electronic finish line judge calls it for Jim White. Identical elapsed times to the thousandth of a second.
Well, Jim White had not been performing well on the starting line all day, but on this run, he was brilliant. He took a slight starting line advantage, and he needed it because Santucci was ready for him. Roland's top speed in the car was great because it paid off at the finish line.
Jim White with a starting line advantage that gave him victory at the end.
A man could race his whole life and never be in a side-by-side battle closer than that.
Wow, I saw him the whole way. I knew that was a tight one, but Wes Cerny and Roland Leon horsepower came right out there at the end. The car drove right on by him.
Well, and obviously you left first or we wouldn't be talking.
I'm glad to hear that. I was a little bit late in the first round. They beat me up at the trailer pretty bad, so I'm glad to hear that one.
5:37, is there more in it?
Yes, sir, buddy.
So an optimistic Jim White moves on. Now we go to the next pairing. Al Hoffman in the near lane versus Mark Oswald.
And you talk about evenly matched. Both drivers ran 5:35 in the previous round. If you carry it out to the thousandth digit, Hoffman got lane choice by 3/1000ths of a second. So Al Hoffman, who recently won the Winston Invitational in Rockingham, in fact, this past April, he's in the lane he wants to be. He's comfortable there. Mark Oswald is also comfortable in a borrowed race car, one they're running for evaluation purposes.
Steve, it's interesting that Al Hoffman has picked a lane that both Kenny Bernstein and Frank Hawley smoked the tires in.
That's where he ran well the previous round. He doesn't want to change a thing. Oh, but he'd like to have that leave back in the same lane. Joe Amato left too soon. Al Hoffman has done likewise. Mark Oswald, who maybe right now thinks he's beaten if he didn't see the red light, goes on to the Final Four. What a gift from Al Hoffman.
What a lucky break for Oswald. He broke just off the starting line, but the high pressure had gotten to Hoffman. The red light gave the win to Oswald. All he had to do was cross the finish line.
Now to the final pairings, and there's Ed McCullough, who beat Paula Martin in round one. Paul, of course, is now crew chief by Johnny West, who had that terrible accident last year. His opponent, Del Worsham, getting started here. He beat last year's champion, Chuck Etchels, in round one. Here's Steve.
Well, Mark, racing breaks don't get bigger than that one.
No, that was a big one. Al's a good competitor, and, you know, I'm sure he feels real bad about that, but I feel real good about it.
A borrowed race car, you have really made this thing strong in a very short period of time.
Yeah, fortunately, it had pretty much our combination in it, and we were able to get it running real fast, and we'll be back next week with our JB racing car in Denver.
Now let's take a look at a 21-year-old making a big name for himself on the NHRA circuit. Del Worsham in the near lane versus Ed McCullough in this round.
Ed McCullough, after finishing #2 in the world at John Force last season, was hoping for a big year. So far, his hopes have been dashed. A runner-up at the Super Nationals, the best he could do. Del Worsham, well, quite the opposite story. His rookie year, they hoped for him to just get experience. Instead, he won the Southern Nationals and took some of that prize money and replaced his heavy fiberglass body with a brand new carbon fiber body. And that has added performance to this automobile. The California Kid puts away the veteran. Del Worsham, 534, 272, heads for the Final Four. Very impressive performance, car and driver.
Now let's go to the semifinal pairings of funny car competition. In the first pairing, Mark Oswald goes against champion John Force. Force has lane choice. In semifinal pairing number 2, it'll be Jim White versus 21-year-old Del Worsham. Worsham has lane choice. And that brings us now to Pro Stocks in semifinal round competition. There's Frank Iaconio, a native New Jerseyan, who won this event in 79, 81, and 83. He is matched against Ricky Smith, who's been to a national event final twice but has never won. Smith, a native of North Carolina, is in the far lane. Now let's go to Steve Evans with Del Worsham.
Well, under that helmet is a young man who's making it a habit, beating men twice his age with twice his experience. Great job.
Oh, thank you, Steve. It really feels great to be back here on TV again, and my dad and Ron and the crew, they're doing just an unbelievable job.
And an unbelievable racetrack considering the weather and everything.
Yeah, you know, it rained and cleaned it off, and it's not too bad out there.
534, not too bad there either.
Oh, thank you.
Del Worsham, now 21 years old, the youngest driver ever to win an NHRA funny car competition. It's time now for Pro Stock semifinal round action.
And if Frank Iaconio has one thing in his favor, it's the crowd. They constantly chant and root and pull for Frankie. It can only help in that reaction time department. And he'll need his best effort off the mark because Ricky Smith, the previous round, defeated Warren Johnson's Oldsmobile by out-driving him. Ran 0.02 of a second slower, but won the race with the better reaction time.
As Ricky Smith moves up slowly, we will notice that Iaconio is already staged, forcing Smith into the lights perhaps sooner than he'd like to be, hoping to throw off his timing on the lead.
He's been using that little trick his whole career. It worked for him 3 times here. Let's see about today. Whoa! Ha! Only the wind light told the Smith crew that their man Ricky had done it with a whole shot. 736 to a 733, 2 rounds in a row. Smith's driving has made the difference, Don.
Well, Smith would not be psyched today. His superior driving wins the race. He leaves 0.04 of a second earlier, but races 0.03 of a second slower. The difference is 1/100th of a second. The video will show you just about how much that is.
You whipped him right up the starting line. Whole shot.
I've been driving good all day. I've had 2 420 lights. I don't know what I had then, but, you know, I'm just ready to go.
Ready to win your first ever national event on the NHRA trail?
Well, you don't know how bad I'm ready. Alderman better not stumble if Brown don't beat him.
Brown just might beat him the way he's running.
Yeah.
Ricky Smith referring to the next semifinal pairing in Pro Stock. Meanwhile, there's action in Don Prudhomme's pit as he readies for the semifinal round of Top Fuel. He'll be going against the surprising 25-year-old Laurie Johns here at the Mopar Parts Summer Nationals. Welcome back to Central New Jersey in the Mopar Parts Summer Nationals. I'm Don Cricky with Don Garlitz and Steve Evans. Despite a 4-hour rain delay, this sellout crowd is up and ready as we're now in semifinal round competition.
Well, the shadows are lengthening, and even though a lot of these people showed up this morning at dawn, they still have plenty of enthusiasm. And let's hope Gary Brown does, driver of that Pro Stock car. He'll need it when he faces Darrell Alderman. Brown qualified 14th. Racing Alderman is kind of like getting into the ring with Mike Tyson and you're 109 pounds soaking wet. It's no surprise that Alderman has a huge points lead. He should have. He's won 5 out of 8 national events this year, and yesterday won $50,000 in the special Budweiser Pro Stock Challenge. He was unbeatable. In case Darrell thinks he's got a pushover here with Gary Brown, he better remember it was Brown who upset Bob Glidden in round number 1 today. Even though only qualified 14th, he stepped up to the plate and knocked Glidden out of the park. 2,350 pounds, 500 cubic inches, carburetors, racing gasoline, 1,200 horsepower. That's a Pro Stock automobile. And in the near lane, one of the very best. McEwen wins, but what a fight Brown put up. Engine builder Dave Hutchins there, you could see it. He knew. We almost were a little complacent there. A 7:30 to a 7:38. Don Garlits.
Well, Gary Brown knew that he had a very tough opponent in the other lane. And on the other hand, Darrell was a little soft on the starting line. He knew he had a fast car. So Brown gets out in front of Darrell to start with. The Dodge gathers up Brown's car and begins to move better going down course. Now, as they reach the end, both cars run about the same speed, but it was that acceleration in the middle of the course for Darrell Alderman that wins the race.
So the final pairing is set for the Pro Stock Championship run. It'll be world champion Darrell Alderman, who has lane choice, going against Ricky Smith here at the Mopar Park Summer Nationals.
And now it's time for the Top Fuel semifinals. That is Kim LaHaye, crew chief for her father Dick, backing him up in those all-important burnout tracks. Now, we heard Joe Amato say earlier when he lost to LaHaye that he felt LaHaye was taking too much time to stage. I can guarantee you Tom McEwen and his crew will not let that happen to them. Crew chief Larry Meyer started his engine way after LaHaye so that they go to the starting line with about the same heat in the engine. Let's remember, the more heat, the more horsepower. And on this racetrack, you could have too much horsepower. They pre-staged. Let's see who stages last. Remember, LaHaye likes to do that. McEwen is going to let him do that. They are both set ready. Tom McEwen by well over a car length has defeated Dick LaHaye with a 5:04 at 284 miles per hour. Let's go to the starting line. Big Daddy Don Garlits with Larry Meyer.
Boy, that was a clean one.
Sure was. Really looked nice. We were shooting for a 5:04. It's pretty close, isn't it?
I'd say so.
Yeah, thanks.
A most satisfying victory in this round for Meyer, who's the former crew chief for Laurie Johns, who's revved up and ready to go against Don Prudhomme. Laurie's had a terrific Summer Nationals. She defeated Kenny Bernstein, number 2 in the point standings. Then she beat the top qualifier, Frank Hawley, and now she goes against the top fuel point leader, Don Prudhomme. He is the man to beat. Now let's go to Steve.
Wherever Jack the Ripper is, even in the dugout at Fenway Park, in a few minutes he'll get a phone call telling him his car is going into its first ever final round with Tom McEwen aboard. Great job.
Thanks, Steve. And I can't say enough for Jack Clark, Mobile One, and all the crew. Larry Meyer and the guys have prepared the car, and to be able to come back after missing 3 races and coming to a race like this one, Summer Nationals, and everything is going just like a fairy tale thing. And then Wildlife Racing Enterprises, Mongoose and Snake, maybe.
Maybe. In fact, let's go to the starting line and find out. Again, great job.
Thanks a lot.
Wildlife Racing, the former partnership of Prudhomme the Snake and McEwen the Mongoose. McEwen, a guy who was out of racing for 3 full years because he couldn't find a sponsor.
Prudhomme comes to the starting line 3/100ths of a second quicker than his opponent Laurie Johns in the previous round. But as we've seen in all categories of competition today, you can make that up right off the starting line.
Steve, notice Prudhomme is in the far lane. He has put Laurie Johns in the near lane. That's where Bernstein and Hawley both smoke the tires. She's not used to that lane.
But look at her go. Prudhomme fades at half-track. Laurie Johns goes to the final 5:01, 272 miles per hour. Let's go to the starting line. Don Garlits with her happy crew chief, Ronnie Swearingen.
Well, I know the crowd had their heart set on a Snake Mongoose, but they ain't going to get it.
I'd hated to spoil their day, but I wanted the Mongoose in the final. It looks like it's going to be a good race. Our stuff's going to, if our stuff will hang in there one more round. Thank you.
Ironically, Ron Swearingen used to be the crew chief for Tom McEwen, while McEwen's crew chief, Larry Meyer, used to work for Laurie Johns. Now they're all set to run against each other, as Laurie Johns and Tom McEwen will meet in the top fuel final here at the Summer Nationals, and the lady has the lane choice. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Wildlife Racing will not be back in business. Laurie Johns took care of that. Laurie, a 5:01.
I'm excited.
Who are the fans behind you over here?
Yeah, hey! What did he run?
Doesn't much matter, does it?
No, it doesn't anymore, but believe me, we have gone against all odds today. We didn't think we could beat Kenny Bernstein. We didn't think we could beat Frank Hawley, and I sure didn't think we could beat the Snake.
And in the final, you're up against your former crew chief, Larry Meyer, and McEwen is up against his former crew chief, Ronnie Swearingen. What a story.
What a story. What a Cinderella story this has turned out to be. But, you know, I love Larry Meyer, and that's the first person I looked at and waved to when we won, and it's a great story. I mean, he comes right back with a new crew, and you couldn't ask for better.
What a final.
Lori Johns, a 5'4" lady who says the game is more mental than physical and she can beat the big guys. One of the big guys in funny cars is John Force as he gets set now for the semifinal round. Car Parts Summer Nationals. In Ricky Smith's pit, the fine-tuning in search of more horsepower continues. While across the way in Darrell Alderman's pit, co-owner David Hutchins is just waiting for the final. In this long day of racing, they seem well pleased, and well they should, with that car which has been so dominant.
It is time for the funny car semifinals. Del Worsham against Jim White. And Don Garlits, two things have happened in the lateness of the day. The sun not shining brightly on the racetrack, and the temperature has cooled off. They've got to be concerned about all the variables.
Yes, they do. The track will have more traction, and the motors will produce more horsepower.
Which this track should now accept. In the far lane is Jim White, fresh off a win 2 weeks ago in Montreal. There is Chuck Worsham directing his son into the staging beams in the near lane. Again, these two cars very competitive. Both have been running in the mid-530s all day today.
Nobody's playing any games. They want to race.
Already staged and ready is Worsham, just waiting on White. White's there. It is Del Worsham going to his second final. The crew celebrating a 5:37, 272-mile-per-hour victory. And young Worsham, how talented is he? He even had the whole shot off the mark, and that's got that crew double excited.
Del Worsham, who at age 21 has already found the winning edge. Something interesting going on now, Don Garlits. Austin Coyle, crew chief for John Force, looks like he wants a lane change.
Well, he has that opportunity right up to time to start. You can take whatever lane you want, and I guess they saw Worsham win in the near lane and decided they wanted it for their race.
Not having lane choice, Mark Oswald now is forced into the far lane. Let's go to Steve.
For the second time in his rookie season, 21-year-old Del Worsham to the final round. Those are sweet words, aren't they?
Oh, those are unbelievable. These are, what did it run?
37.
37. It's consistent.
And you were out first.
That's good, because the last time we raced him, he got a pretty good hole shot on me.
Who would you rather race in the final if you could pick the winner of this next duo?
I'd like to race John Force because we got the car from him. It'd be nice.
Because he's John Force.
That's it.
Del Worsham referring to the fact that he bought the chassis for his current car from the John Force organization.
And John Force may be wishing he had never sold a car to Del Worsham. Maybe nobody had ever sold a car to Del Worsham, because he may have to face him in the final. If, in fact, Force can get by Mark Oswald here in the semis. John Force idling through the water, getting the tires loose, executing the... Whoa! Force sideways, headed for the Christmas tree. There is something gone awry, Don Garlits, with that car.
You bet, Steve. There's oil running out of the back of the engine. You can see the little trail behind the car. The engine's still running, but it's blown up.
And this is going to be a huge break for Mark Oswald. He's had a number of them today. He should have been in Atlantic City, New Jersey, instead of Englishtown, New Jersey. You can see all the oil on the racetrack, but Force did a good job when he realized he had probably punctured the pan and all that lubricant was coming out, of getting it right there up against the wall to not put any more in the racing groove than he had. That's good heads-up race car driving, and everybody that comes behind him will appreciate it.
Mark Oswald, meanwhile, with the rare run of racing luck. You'll remember that Al Hoffman red-lighted against him. Mark went on to break in that race, but still was able to win it. Now his semifinal round opponent, John Force, goes out with a mechanical problem. So Mark Oswald goes to the final. All eyes lonesome as he'll make the run by himself.
And he'll run hard to try to get lane choice. He'll have to run better than Worsham's 5:37. Yes, a 5:33 gives Oswald lane choice at only 2:25. Let's go to Don Garlits with a gotta-be-depressed John Force.
Tough break on John. He was running so good, and it looked so good over in the pits when you had it apart.
Well, Roland's out. If we're chasing points and not money, then I'd say the brakes were against those guys, not me. We did what we had to do, protect our championship, and that's all I wanted to accomplish here today.
John Force, who has been the best in his class, but luck was not with him today.
Well, Don, let's take another look at John Force's burnout. The burnout I'm sure he wished he could forget. Car looks pretty good, and all of a sudden it does a little thing off to the side. Not like John. He makes beautiful burnouts. Got the car back under control. Oil had won under the tires and caused it to go sideways. And very quickly he pulls over to the edge.
And a very disappointed Austin Coyle, his crew chief. They thought everything was right for yet another victory, not to be. Now let's go to Steve.
Well, Mark Oswald's car only ran a speed of 225, but Mark, that's slow. Something happened.
Yeah, it broke and quit about 1,000 feet. This must be the day of the favors for me. You know, Force is always tough, and unfortunately looked like the rods came out his on the starting line, and looks like it could be my lucky day.
As they clean up, let's look at the final pairing. It'll be Mark Oswald against Del Worsham, and Oswald will have lane choice despite the fact he had a mechanical breakdown in the last round. Let's go back to Steve.
Guys, further inspection of the Mark Oswald car shows that the burst panel just under that top blower pulley has pushed out. That released all of the boost from the supercharger. That's why it slowed down. It is easily repaired unless something caused it to blow out that's more serious.
Possibly more good news for Mark Oswald. Back in Tom McEwen's pit, crew chief Larry Meyer has things under control as he gets the car ready for the Top Fuel final against Lori Johns and her crew chief Ron Swearingen.
An obscure racer named Garlitz made a decision to go with Mopar parts because he thought it would give him an advantage. Turns out, he was right.
Could you kiss me? Because you know we're gonna win? Will you bark at the camera when we win? It's a scary thing, huh? Big black animal.
Lori Johns, a short time ago, spending some time with her little pet dog Sebastian, who travels with her. And then she headed off for the staging area to get ready for the Top Fuel final. Since then, it's gotten even darker. To get an idea how dark, take a look from the cockpit of Darrell Alderman's car as he looks down the raceway, getting ready for the Pro Stock final.
The scenario here is really pretty simple. Darrell Alderman has the fastest car in the history of pro stock racing, and Ricky Smith has about the best reaction times on the average of any driver in the class. And that has to be the weapon that Ricky Smith uses against the Dodge. And don't think Darrell Alderman doesn't know what Smith is up to here. It is Alderman, first off the mark, first to the line in 7.29 seconds. Let's go to the starting line. Don Garlitz with Mike Sullivan.
Well, you're a whole bunch of money richer than you were when you came here.
Yes, we are, Don, but Darrell just did an excellent job. Excellent. We just tried to be consistent on this racetrack. Today we went a 330s, maybe 131, and this 29. He was just wonderful. He did an excellent job.
He is definitely one of the best drivers in the business.
Definitely. He definitely is. We're just tickled to death. We did it. Thank you.
Now let's meet the king of the pro stocks, Darrell Alderman.
What a spectacular way to end a very rich weekend. A 4.0 light and a 7.29. You just can't do it much better than that.
No, Steve, I knew I had to be on time when I run Ricky because he's been cutting good lights all day long and done a real good job of driving. And I can't say enough about the way Wayne County prepared the car all day long. They've had it consistent all day long from a 29 to a 31. And our sponsors, Mopar, and I'm just lost for words, really.
Your banker may be as well when you deposit about $80,000 from this weekend. Quite a payday.
Yeah, I was talking to Dave and Mike about that last night, and they said it was already spent, though. That's a bad thing.
Spent on parts to make you go faster, no doubt. Again, great job.
Thank you very much.
There's your pro stock champ.
Darrell Alderman, the dominator in pro stock, 6 wins in 9 events, and it shows up in the Winston points. Alderman with the lead over second place Warren Johnson by over 2,100 points. So it appears that Alderman's on his way to yet another world championship in pro stock competition. Meanwhile, Mark Oswald is waiting for the funny car final. That's coming up next on NBC Sports World. Welcome back to the Mopar Parts Summer Nationals in Englishtown, New Jersey. where Del Worsham is ready for the burnout. The better to get traction to go for the Funny Car Championship. Worsham, the youngest NHRA Funny Car champion ever. And his opponent, Mark Oswald, has to be thinking back to the last time he met this rookie in a final. As we go back to April and the Southern Nationals final at Atlanta, Worsham in the near lane, Oswald in the far lane, and the rookie, 21 years old, handed Mark Oswald a stunning defeat. Earlier, Steve visited both pit areas.
Mark Oswald and his crew chief, Bill Schultz, are using a borrowed car, and for very good reason. They're considering building a more up-to-date car than the one they presently have. They were able to borrow from the Potosa brothers of Staten Island, New York, a machine that has seldom ever been run, almost identical to their thoughts. And I think they're going to build that kind of a car right now. Right next door is Oswald's opponent in this final round, Del Worsham, in quite a contrast. A little bitty trailer, a pickup truck. Del hauls it around the country. His father owns the car. They're not deep in parts, but they've got a lot of enthusiasm, and the young man is driving like a veteran here today.
Well, Don Cricky, I think it's high time that Chuck Worsham got some of the credit that's due him. He's got that car running with the best of them.
Well, he could get some credit right now, Don, if he wins this final race.
Will it be Oswald in the far lane? Worsham in the near lane. Oswald runs out of luck. Del Worsham wins the Summer Nationals in a shower of sparks, I believe, caused by a dragging exhaust pipe. Let's go to Don Garlits with his father.
Well, Chuck, you really got to be proud of the team.
Yeah, what'd we run that round? I
couldn't see it.
I can't either, but I'm really happy. To win 2 races in 1 year, the kid's just doing great.
He's one of the young superstars.
He's got a long future, doesn't he?
Yes, he has.
He holds the pressure real good. See you, man. Thanks.
Don Garlits, the ET was 5.29, 273 miles an hour. Steve?
Del Worsham came grinding to a stop down here. The safety Safari trailing him. You saw the spectacular sparks. It's nothing but a broken header, and you've won it.
Oh, this is unbelievable. I seen the headers and the sparks. I pulled the fire bottles, and I was ready to come out the top. And my dad, Ron, Paul, the rest of the crew, Nicky Bonifay, they did an unbelievable job.
Have you ever even driven a funny car at night?
Just here this weekend, whatever I did here this weekend.
Again, tremendous job. You know, you work in the shadow of all those big rigs out of your little bitty trailer, but you humbled them on this day.
Oh, yeah, we can't afford the big rigs, but we get ourselves some decent parts.
Oh, boy, if he gets decent parts, he'll really be tough. The funny car winner, Del Worsham, congratulations one more time.
Oh, thank you.
Del Worsham, a 2-time winner in his rookie season. And with the victory, Worsham has moved to 6th position in the Winston point standings. And in spite of his problems here at the Summer Nationals, John Force will leave the event as the leader in the overall points in funny cars.
Well, Don, I don't think down here at the end of the track they're counting points or counting dollars. Del Worsham has earned just about 40,000 of them, and that'll really help the rest of the season.
Now it's time for the Top Fuel final. And Tom McEwen, 53 years old, who's never won a Top Fuel event, ready to run against Laurie Johns, who's 4 for 4 as a finalist in NHRA Top Fuel competition. There's a very interesting backdrop involving the crew chiefs here, and Steve had a chance to visit with both.
The man who controls all the tools and all those doors is Ronnie Swearingen. And Ronnie, you have to beat a man in a few minutes, or try to, who's very special to you in your life.
Yeah, it's kind of funny having to race the Mongoose. I kind of like to see him win because he's kind of considering my godfather, kind of. Him and my father go way back in the same car clubs and gun clubs and stuff, and it's kind of a sentimental thing for me. But I'm going to give it my best shot.
Larry Meyer, a ton of emotion in this Top Fuel final. Ronnie Swearingen almost would like to see McEwen win. They go that far back. And you racing really for the first time, a young lady, well, you taught how to do this stuff.
We are going to race her? I didn't know that.
You can't put that out of your mind.
Yeah, we really have. We've been so busy here. We got a complete new combination. Different fuel pump, different clutch, different injector. I don't know if you've seen my single butterfly opening on the burnout deal. We're just happy it's working so good.
Racing Laurie means nothing to you other than just another car race?
We'd like to win the final, sure, but now we got this far, the first race, we're excited.
You never make me believe that. They both want to win so bad they can taste it.
Oh, they're going for the throat. That was just nice people being nice. The final race of the Summer Nationals, Tom McEwen and Laurie Johns. What a script that just came to an end as Laurie Johns loses traction, blazes the tires. McEwen wins it, his best run of the day in 5 flat. Let's go to Big Daddy Don Garlits down on the starting line with Larry Meyer, the crew chief for the first time for Tom McEwen.
A tremendous final, 5 flat here in the dark.
Donald, I don't know what to say. It's just a static deal. First race with the team, with just everybody's done good. Jack Clark, the Mobile 1, Top Fuel, Tom McEwen deal. It's a killer. That's all I can say. I want to say hi to my son and my daughter. I'm bad.
Congratulations, Larry.
And there's Tom McEwen, the new Top Fuel champion of the Summer Nationals. Steve?
Tom McEwen wiggling out of the tight confines of this cockpit. You have won your first ever Top Fuel National event. What a job.
Thanks, Steve. I can't thank Jack Clark Racing and Mobile 1 and Larry Meyer and all the crew guys and everybody that's helped us and coming back, you know, with some changes and people and coming in here with a new fuel pump on the car and everything. It's just, I wish Jack was here to really enjoy this thing. And
he's playing baseball.
Yeah, well, I told him last night, I said, if we can win this thing, I'm going to fly to Boston tomorrow, hand you the trophy. He says, well, if you can do that, then I'll take you out and buy you a new car tomorrow. I says, yeah, sure. So we'll see what happens.
Somewhere there's a Mercedes-Benz dealer with bated breath.
Yeah, it's probably going to be one of those Oriental cars that costs $12.95. Bill it yourself.
Again, great job. I'll shake that hand.
Thanks a lot.
Tom McEwen, the winner here at the Summer Nationals. What a story. What a thrill.
And a very popular win. He goes to 9th in the point standings. Don Prudhomme extended his lead over second place Kenny Bernstein to 420 points in Top Fuel. Now for Don Garlitz and Steve Evans, this is Don Cricky. Glad you could be with us at the Mopar Parts Summer Nationals on NBC Sports World.
This has been NBC's Sports World, and today it was brought to you by Mopar Parts and the Chrysler Corporation dealers who sell and install them. By Autolite Spark Plugs, guaranteed for 2 years no matter how far you go. By Goodyear, the unanimous choice of all the professional NHRA World Champions, from Top Fuel to Pro Stock Motorcycle. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
The preceding has been a presentation of NBC Sports.